Is it were there ever, and you don't have to name names, but were there ever times when you're like, oh, I don't want to go talk to that guy?
Yeah, your father.
Really? Oh my God.
Oh, yeah. There's a crash. I want to talk to your father. Go get Earnhardt. I don't want to talk to him. He's not going to want to talk to us. He messed with me. And the last time I interviewed him, he messed with me. I had just started with Fox. This was 2001, first race that Fox is going to do. So everybody's on edge. Nobody knows for sure whether they're going to be able to keep their job or not. This is the Daytona 500. This is this is your talent interview to see if you can really do it or not. So practice ends, and I've got Pam Miller in my ear. She was the pit producer. Mm-hmm. She says, "We need Earnhardt." I said, "He's talking to his crew. Leave him alone. We need him now. We're going to go off air pretty soon." I said, "Pam, I can't bug him. I can't." She says, "You got to get Earnhardt. You understand? You need an interview with Dale Earnhardt. We need it now. Go get it." And just at that moment, the conversation with the crew broke up. So I think I can get it. I hit my talk back. I think I can get it. I went over and I said, "Dale, have you got a moment?" "What, now? Right now?" And I knew it was over. I knew he wasn't going to talk to me. Within half a second, he had me by the elbow and spun me around. He said, "How about now?" So we got the interview. But I thought, oh my gosh, if I don't get this interview, am I going to be going to Rockingham next week?
Yeah.
I got the interview.
I was always curious about being a pit reporter and on pit road during the race, because drivers know that they need to do interviews because they got to promote themselves, their sponsors, and crew chiefs go about their job going, "That ain't important to me. Mm-hmm. I don't have any. That ain't my job. I'm never, But during the race, you're the pit reporter. Those guys are your source of information, and I imagine there were some of them that were harder nuts to crack or just almost impossible. Like, it's not even worth going over to, like, Maurice or some of those guys.
There's a good one right there.
Right? Maurice Petty,
yeah.
I imagine.
Yeah.
But there were some, I'm sure, that were more than happy and willing to talk to you, but others that were just like, "I'm working, don't bother me."
Yeah. Well, some of them had gotten mad at me, too.
Yeah.
Ray Evernham's a good example of that. There was a time when qualifying for the Daytona 500, and I'm working qualifying, and I mean, that's when you've got guys out there and they're doing 3 laps, and it just takes forever. It's the most boring television possible. So instead of hanging around on pit road, I'm going in the garage. I want to see if anybody's messing with their car. And sure enough, here's Evernham's car, the Jeff Gordon car, and they got the thing up on jack stands. He's got 4 mechanics underneath it. Each one of them has got a hairdryer, and they're heating the wheel bearings, front and rear. So I put that on the air.
Oh, boy.
Evernham is ready to kill me. He said,
I bet.
Yeah, he was. He said, "I work all winter long looking for a little advantage in Daytona, and you come along and you tell the whole world." And he threw me out of the pit. And I probably had it coming. But, if you're news, that's news.
Did you have a conversation afterwards?
No,
never.
We never really did. But come the Daytona 500, if I had to talk to him, it would have been over by then.
Yeah.
But after that, he was always careful about where he let my camera go, whether he was going to let the camera in the garage itself. I always asked. I never brought a camera in the garage without asking the crew chief first. And I could ask Ray Evernham, and he'd usually say, "You keep the camera there."
Yeah.
Just in the edge of the garage, rather than letting it come in.
This brings up an interesting point that I've always wanted to ask you. We're numb to the fact that in the crunch of a race, like when it's crunch time, a pit reporter must go up onto a pit box and ask about their fuel mileage.
Yeah.
Which I think is actually, if you think about it, it's kind of a personal question. It's like that's information that I don't think the crew chief is just wanting to tell everybody.
Yeah.
And also, you are running the chance of looking like a fool. Yeah, Dick, we've got enough fuel to go the way, and then they run out on the backstretch on the last lap or something like that. Yeah. Did you ever not want to go climb a pit box and ask that question? Is that question as personal and as tough to ask in that moment as it seems to be?
It is a tough question, but it's one that has to be asked. And I think that the crew chiefs, by the time I got to CBS, the crew chiefs were much more used to it. people climbing up on the pit box, asking him about things like fuel mileage and the car is going backwards now and the engine doesn't sound just right. Is this something you can fix on the next pit stop, or is it something that's permanent? Are you about to blow up? Whatever it might be. They're more used to it now. And so it's not as worrisome as it used to be. What used to be the problem, if you can imagine this, was dragging cable. I mean, even at we before we had all the wireless stuff, you had to drag cable up and down pit road.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and you'd get it caught in the tires, and the crew chiefs would be Harry Hyde wanted to kill me one day because my cable got tangled up in his tires, and the guys are trying to sort tires and go over the pit wall, and they got my cable, and they're trying to pull me over backwards. It was different.
That'd be
then.
one I wouldn't want to climb up on his pit box. Harry Hyde.
No.
Everything we've heard about Harry Hyde, no, it doesn't sound like that would have been a fun one.
No.
And I definitely wouldn't want to get him tangled up in my cables.
Yeah, the guys that do it today and the women who do it today on pit road, and it's nice to see women doing it. It really is. They've got it pretty easy compared to what it was in the very beginning when you dragged cable and you didn't have the kind of access that you've got now. If somebody didn't want to talk to you, they didn't have to talk to you. Now they really feel as if they have to. And for just what you said, Dale, about for your sponsors and for your own future, you have to do the interviews. Yeah,
so apparently some people, and Dad included, told you that you take things too seriously.
Yeah.
You needed to
lighten up, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
I did take it too seriously. I so desperately wanted to have it go right. I wanted to say the right things. I wanted to contribute to the sport in a positive way. And if you're too serious to be able to see your own mistakes and to see places where you can do better, you're making a mistake. And more than a few people have told me along the line that you're too serious. But to be where I've been, I mean, there was a time when I was doing television and editing 2 auto racing magazines at the same time. So I wouldn't take an afternoon off for 6 months, not even an afternoon, nothing. It gets pretty serious when you're working that hard. It's hard to have fun as such. If you're just working, you get out of bed in the morning, you can't wait to get to your computer and get started. You can't wait to get to the airport, to get to the track. You're driving too fast to get to the track. You're driving too fast to get that airplane at the end of the race. Yeah, I've been too serious. There's no doubt about it. I wish I'd laughed more along the line.
One of the things that I've always admired about broadcasters, Ken Squire is the best example of that, is the vocabulary and the way he would take a complex situation on a racetrack and explain it in some term that anyone could know, right? And you had one example of that. What a pile of grit. You remember when you said that?
I don't.
So Dad flips at Daytona, climbs back in the car, and comes down pit road. You're a pit reporter. He comes in and pulls his car in. They start putting the car back together and taping it together, and you go, what a pile of grit.
Yeah.
So when fans and people that are passionate about the sport remember moments like that, those key phrases are what they key in on, right?
Yeah.
And I mentioned Squire. Do those things come naturally? All right, as a broadcaster, I would have to think that Ken Squire, I just want to think in my head that before the 1979 Daytona 500, that Ken Squire had a notebook of all the things that he might pull out of his hat. Like you know,
and there's a fight on the backstretch. They
train.
know they have lost.
Right. A freight train down the back straightaway.
Yeah.
Just small little, everybody's seen a freight train. Okay, I get it. These little descriptions, right, of the racing. He used them time and time again. If you watch the 1979 Daytona 500, that's my favorite thing, is listening to the Squireisms.
Yes.
As a broadcaster and having lived and worked in that era and having those own little, quips of your own, right? Does that come naturally?
Yes.
Or that's just part of your being and part of you, like you don't develop that?
You can try to develop it, but what you do is what I'm sure you do, which is to watch what you've done. So you go back and replay the broadcast. And
Really?
you see what you said.
I can honestly tell you, and I'm kind of ashamed now, but since you said that I do not watch my broadcast, and I haven't purposely sat down to watch my work.
You should do
I
that.
should.
You're pretty darn good at it.
I should do it.
Yeah, I think.
What am I going to try to understand? Help me, send me to school. So, what do I want to figure out by watching?
In your mind, when you do that, you're liable to see something or hear something that you said that you might have been able to say a little bit differently. Mm-hmm. Remember it for next time. I think the drivers that watch races on the tape, they go run a race and then they watch the race on tape, and they watch it a couple of times or 3 times.
Yeah.
They learn stuff.
Same reason.
Yeah, same reason, exactly. Same reason that football coaches play the game back and show the quarterback or the whatever it might be, the receiver.
I'm scared to watch it, and
well,
like I don't want to know what I said or how I sounded because it,
You'll be surprised. You'd like it. You
but
would.
I think if I had, all you guys, you were a photographer, then a journalist, then a track announcer, and then you did some MRN, and then you built this foundation, right? And like Mike Joy, right? Same thing. Like he didn't just jump into a booth one day. So I guess I don't know. I've always been curious about that. You sure that Squire didn't have a book full of Squireisms?
If he did, I never saw it, and
he just had all that in memory.
Well, I think a lot of it just came out.
Yeah.
Dave Moody has some of that in him as well. Moody can come up with some things. I listen to him, and I'll say, "Where'd he get that?"
Yeah.
It's some people. It's a gift.
That is my favorite part of broadcasting. Madden, he had that.
Yes.
He had his own language, right?
Yes, he did.
And you only got it from him. And if so that's I want to develop, because I don't know if I have that, right?
Maybe
Does that make sense?
Maybe it starts with the gift of observation and really being tuned in with your surroundings. Because I don't think Ken Squire predetermines what he's going to say. Those moments happen in themselves, and so you have to have the ability to recognize and then be able to articulate.
Yes.
Like guys would say, when a motor breaks today in a broadcast, guys will go, "Well, the motor broke," right? The engine blew up.
Right.
Mm.
In 1980, he hand grenaded the motor. Like, what? That's amazing, right? It's way better than just the motor broke.
Or Chris Economaki and A.J. Foyt. A.J. Foyt pulls out of a race with a blown engine, and Chris says, "A.J., what happened?" And A.J. says, "The motor's busted, Chris." And Chris said, "The motor's not busted, it's broken. Linda Vaughn is busted." I don't think he wrote that down ahead of time.
No, he didn't.
Wow.
My gosh.
Wow. Put him into the Mount Rushmore then. Chris Economaki does right there.
was pretty
Just on that
incredible.
line alone, right?
See, the funny thing about Chris, when I listen to watch old races now, is he seems, and I mean this with the most respect, so out of place.
Yeah.
Because he sounds completely different than anything else going on in this whole broadcast, and he talks. His vocabulary is on a totally different. It's somewhere else. Like he didn't have a racing voice, right? I don't know if there is one, but you worked with Chris Economaki.
Yeah.
Describe his approach to his job.
Well, he didn't have 30 pages of notes with him, I'll tell you that. But he had a lot of stuff in his head. I enjoyed listening to him. I thought he did a wonderful job, whether it was in a booth or whether it was on pit road. They never put him any place that he couldn't do well.
Yeah, he was all over.
Yeah, and his newspaper, my gosh, National Speed Sport News, when that thing would arrive on a Thursday, I wouldn't take phone calls on Thursdays until I had read Chris's column in Speed Sport. This is when I was the editor of the magazine. because I knew darn well that whoever was on the phone looking for me wanted to know about what Chris had written. What do you think about what Chris said about Darrell Waltrip? Well, I haven't read Chris's column yet. You can't do that.
Yeah.
I had to have read it.
You want to hear the rest of that conversation with Dick Berggren? Well, you got to listen to all of the podcasts. The Dale Jr. Download, available on all major podcast platforms.